Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, who got over everywhere, you know, and especially the heels like Roddy, who had to talk people into a building, and Dusty largely as a babyface, but went and did it year in and year out, change the scenery, still talking people into the building. It's changed. It's more about entertaining people, but in the end, you know, I still think there's something to be said for that killer promo, which is why, even though we don't have the buy rates like we used to gauge the interest, like this SummerSlam is going to be hot, largely because of some great promo work by Paul.
And I'll go a step further and say answered by Cena, because a while ago I showed you the Paul Heyman promo. I didn't show you the Cena return.
Yeah.
Cena delivered. And a lot of time he goes over that same old bubblegum bullshit, and it's a repeat about passion.
Yeah.
But, man, the dude, when he goes out there a little bit and gets intense and delivers a message, he's an A1 promo.
I mean, I remember, you know, when I was fairly new to Twitter, and I didn't have, you know, the numbers that would, you know, that fortunately stacked up. But I was living in Florida at the time, and I sent out. So he gave one of those promos, and I said, "Man, great promo by @John Cena. I think it's about time people recognize his legacy of great matches in WWE." And I looked over at my daughter, and I went, "I just got 800 messages." She goes, "But you sent that out a minute ago." And I said, "Well, let me try it again." I said, "Oh, yeah, you know, try to find a bad @John Cena pay-per-view match for me." And like 900 people answered back, "We're watching it." And they all had the one match. And I said, if everyone's pointing to one match, it's a pretty good indication that he's had a run of great matches. He's had the opponents. And it reminded me, in my high school had the winningest lacrosse program in the country. And there were people in the community who thought that this coach, Joe Cuso, didn't know how to coach, that he compiled 700 wins by having the right talent every year for 39 years. You know, it's completely ridiculous, you know, and guys said, well, he had the right talent. Like, what about that match with great you know, and it was the first time I'd had a negative backlash. By and large, up to that point, it was people who were agreeing with what I had to say. And when I came back to WWE for one of my occasional stops, I remember John pulled me aside and he just said, "Thank you." And that's all he said. I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I just said, "Yeah, John," I said, "you know, like, I feel like I'm entitled to, you know, like I don't think wrestling's history should be written solely by the fans. Like, I think I have a say as well." And I felt like that needed to be said. But you're right. When he's on his game, he's as good as anyone.
Talking to the legend Mick Foley, we're talking about all kinds of bullshit here today on the show. Coming right back with the one and only Mick Foley.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on Podcast One.
All right, coming back with Mick Foley. Real quickly, you know, we're gonna draw this hour in, Mick. Let me ask you a question.